For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, 30 minutes of time-wasting fun. Glad you tuned in. Thanks for listening on your favorite podcast app. Remember to click the subscribe. I always have to say that. I get in trouble if I don't remind you guys. But hey, if you figured out how to download a podcast, you know how to follow and subscribe or whatever it is. So have at her, okay? There you go. Lots to talk about today on the show. Paying for porn. That's how I'm going to start out our introduction to what's on the show. Paying for porn. This was something that only, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people were kind of saying, who pays for porn anymore? It's free all over the internet. Well, people are, right? Look at how many people are making, 6 figures a year just by stripping down for their web camera. And also to relationship broadcasting. I mean, the people who are on Facebook and giving you every little detail about their life. It's almost nauseating. You don't know if they're writing it all to make you jealous or if they're just insecure and need that attention. I've got some thoughts about those people because I'm not one of them. I'm one of the people in the audience going, ugh, gag me. And also, too, there's a lot of times where we like something, we just absolutely love something as a kid, but then as we get older, it sort of fizzles out. We maybe don't have that appreciation for it anymore. I'm going to tell you, it's mostly food with me, but I'll open up about some of those stories. And we've got an Ask JB question to wrap up the show. So it's all coming up on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. You know how I like commenting on relationships? I like commenting on relationships, but not mine, right? I mean, if you've been listening to this show, or even on our radio shows when I was hosting those, for 15 years, I don't talk very much about my relationship because, get this, it's private. And so I am fascinated when I see people constantly giving updates about their relationships on social media. Now, the one thing that sort of really gets me is the people who do the whole lovey-dovey anniversary posts. And I had a conversation with a friend about this the other day. I don't even remember how we got on the subject, but I said something to the effect of, people who are just attention-seeking on social media. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, the ones that I almost wonder if you don't communicate with your partner. Like, you don't even, text your partner. Like, why do you have to post things publicly to each other? Like, oh, I'm so proud of my baby today, blah, blah. Or on your anniversary, oh, the light of my life, been with you for 5 years, I can't think about a day without you, and I don't get it. That's something that you say in private to each other. I don't even think you should text that, quite honestly. You shouldn't even text that. That's something that you say that to each other. And so I'm always just amazed when people kind of do that whole public fawning over their partner. I don't know, because I've never done it, honestly. So 4 years into my relationship, I have never done it. The odd time, and I don't really post very much. The only pages are really Instagram, the one that will have a couple pictures of us. But I've never even happy birthday to my baby. Never. That's a conversation that we have. So I'm fascinated then when suddenly, because there's a few people who I'm thinking about in particular as I tell this story, there's some people who really the only posts they have are about their relationship or about the kids, but mainly about the relationship. And so it's curious to me then when all of a sudden the relationship posts kind of dry up. They kind of just disappear. What happened? Where's the guy or the girl? Are they gone? Are they fighting? Did you kick them out? Did you dump your sorry ass? Your attention-seeking sorry ass? But here's where I feel kind of ripped off, is that you've got to tell us the complete story. Do you get what I'm saying here? If you're going to be an open book about all the good times, every fight that you have, when there's a breakup, we want the fucking details, okay? There's no way that you can leave us out of that. Because if that's what your audience, that's what you've set us up for, right? The constant update, the obnoxious, the monotonous, the cringeworthy, the make me gag updates. That's what you give us. So if you're going to be the storyteller or the content producer that you've become on social media, because that's what people are, right? You're content producing for an audience. You're not doing it for yourself. Then tell us. But again, I'm always just fascinated when there's the lovey-dovey posts and then all of a sudden there's just radio silence. And then when you actually kind of go and do a deeper dive, and I'd say, wait a second, weren't like half of their photo galleries about this person or with this person? How have they just suddenly disappeared off the face of the earth? It's a little bit curious, isn't it? So I want to know from you, the listener, if your relationship ends, and this is also provided that you put your relationship out there on social media, if your relationship ends, do you wipe the person from your page? Do you do and I've also seen a final statement. I think I read that one, I read one of them a couple months ago here on the show where, you know, the person, again, it's almost like through a publicist kind of a statement, you know, a lot of people are wondering about, or I'm responding to so-and-so's comments about whatever. Get over yourselves, people. Really? Really? Even I'm a radio host, newspaper columnist, author, whatever. Even if I have something dramatic in my life, I'm not posting a fucking... you know, we did one, the last press release I think that we did was when my dog died, because the dog was sort of an issue. He was a character on our show and then just kind of a big deal to our 300,000 radio listeners and however many on Twitter and whatever. So we kind of did that because we also had special programming. We did an announcement, not just a press release because Jeremy's dog died, but a press release because we had Dr. Phil, we had Caesar Milan the dog whisperer, we had my mayor from my hometown come on and pay tribute. So it ended up becoming an event. That's why we put a press release about that. I didn't go and put a statement together on Facebook, you know, looking like it's some sort of big PR thing. No. And just like, you know, I've had ups and downs in my relationship. I've even thrown his ass out the door. Literally, he's out in the front street twice. But I'm going to tell people. I mean, I'm telling you now, but I'm not saying I haven't gone into the details with people. I don't all of a sudden go and, you know, the kind of posts I'm talking about, right? I'm not going and saying, you know, oh my God, I hate him. He's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. No, it's between us. Nobody needs to know that. Done. Right? Like, this is, I don't know. So if you're going to broadcast a relationship for the people, which again is why you're doing it, you want attention. You want people, you know, patting you on the back. You want people envious. I don't know. You want people happy for you. Give us the complete story if that relationship ends. If you can tell us how much of a dick he is and why you hate him when you have a fight, or how he's a terrible parent and you're always the one that, you know, like, then you got to give us everything. You really do. You got to tell us the whole story. Send me an email. Tell me your thoughts. live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on this Scribble. Let's talk porn for a second. How's that for an introduction, everybody, eh? Yeah. Not hearing that on NPR. You remember years ago when people would say, nobody's going to pay for porn because it's free on the internet, right? I mean, you can type in anything, you can find, you know, a video or a picture or whatever about any sort of kink or fetish or whatever it might be. Isn't it interesting, though, how we've seen this swing that now people are making a ton of money taking off their clothes, right? Making porn, having their own little porn site or porn page. And I'm fascinated by this because it wasn't so long ago that you would kind of scoff at the idea, right? And I think at one time the porn industry was even worried because people aren't going to buy it anymore. It's all out there. It's free. And I've always thought that if you do pay for porn or buy porn, that you would keep it to yourself. Now, again, maybe I'm just a cheapskate. So let me explain what I mean. So if I were to buy, a dirty magazine or one of like a coffee table book with a bunch of naked pictures or whatever in it, because I've paid for it, I've used my money, I would keep it to myself. Why would I go if I paid, for a hardcover book, if I went and paid for that, let's say $40, $50, $60, why would I want to share that with people who didn't pay for it? Right? That's just where I'm greedy. I'm selfish. I'm going to keep that to myself. Same thing with, let's say a video or magazine or, okay, so if I guess you don't go and buy movies anymore. Well, I guess you would download now, I guess. So again, that would be like me paying to download a movie and then uploading it somewhere else and sharing the content and then giving it to people for free. Maybe I'm just a business person at heart and I just, it just seems weird. So I'm fascinated that now people are basically starting up these porn pages. What is it called? OnlyFans. And there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of knockoffs or spin-offs or whatever you want to call it. And the people who have 10,000, 20,000 followers, and then there's even the people who brag about how much they've made doing it. And so to me, that also seems a little bit, I don't know, like they post their screenshots of how much they made this month by taking naked pictures or masturbating or whatever. Like, I mean, I've made a fortune doing radio and I've made a fortune selling books and, but I've never gone and done, screenshots. Hey, this is why you should be an author. You can make, 6 figures selling. I don't know. Let people figure that out themselves. Why would I want to encourage people to do the same thing to take away attention from me? Just my thoughts anyway. So it's interesting. I had a conversation with a friend who said that his ex-girlfriend, so he was wanting to make a page because he saw that his ex-girlfriend, or she told him anyway, that she was making upwards of $10,000 a month with her page. And so I'd said to him, well, you also have to realize that I believe this is fact. Now, I don't know the actual numbers, but I'm going to guess that men pay for porn more than women do. And what I mean by that is, so you're going to get straight men or gay men who, straight men are going to pay for the porn to watch a woman. You might have some, lesbian, you might have some women doing it as well. And then when it comes to a muscled hot guy, you're going to have gay men paying for that primarily, right? So either way, you're looking at a dominated male porn purchasing pattern. There we are. Look at the alliteration on that one. Okay. And so that's where I said to him, like, your audience, you might think that you're performing for girls, gals, women, but you're probably going to have the gay audience who's really into, what you're going to do. And my thoughts, at least from a business standpoint, or somebody who has an audience, different platform, different channel altogether, but you've got to keep them entertained. You've got to either keep upping your game. Same thing when I was hosting the radio show. It was one thing to do entertainment headlines and talk about celebrities. Well, you can only do that for so long. So then, all right, well, now we've got to interview them. Now we've got to cover red carpets, right? You've always got to up the bar, up your game, whichever, and take it to the next level all the time. So when it comes to those kinds of, videos and things, I said to him, and he's an attractive guy, don't get me wrong, he probably could make a lot of money. I should go into managing his career, actually, now that I think about it. But they're going to want you to keep going one step further. So his initial thought was, well, I can post workout videos, or I can, and I said, well, those would be a dime a dozen, right? I mean, people can see that at the gym. People can basically watch you for free at the gym if they wanted to, or whatever. I don't know that people would pay. Maybe people would pay for that. Who knows? And so I said, but you're going to have to keep taking it up a notch. You're going to have to, you might have to then start showing nudity, and then hardcore nudity, and then hardcore whatever, because people are going to get bored. Again, people taking off their clothes is a dime a dozen on the internet. I get that people will have 100,000, 300,000, million followers, whatever it is, and be raking in a fortune, but it's not overnight. Like it's they've been doing it for a while, or they're just creating really good. They're good at content producing, right? So you've always got to take it to the next level. And again, it goes back to that point I made at the beginning, which is I can't believe there's a ton of people that are paying for porn again. Now, I guess if you're paying $4 or $5 or whatever it is a month to see somebody, I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot. But I remember, I'll tell you a story here. When I was 18 going to a video store, or I guess an adult, no, it was a video store when I was 18. I just got off work from Red Lobster. I was working there when I was 18. And I had just then, my ID showed that I was 18. So I was probably 18 and a few weeks old. And I was on my way home. I was taking the bus, actually. I was taking the bus home from Red Lobster when I was working. And the bus, it depended on how I would get home. Like, whichever time I would get off, I would take either one bus or another one. Both of them would get me home, but it's just a matter of whichever one showed up first, okay? And so the one that would go down this other street that passes the porn store, I would have to then get off there and then reconnect to another bus or just walk 15 minutes home. Like, it wasn't a huge deal. And there was something about that day when I got off the bus and I went into that store, it was just kind of exciting. Now, again, I had never, maybe I had already watched porn at the time, but so I had never bought it. Like, I had never gone to a store and bought. That was the first time that I'd ever gone into it. And remember, back in the day, we're going back 20 years now, you weren't ordering stuff like that on the internet necessarily. So I went in there. I didn't know. There was a VHS. Kids, look up VHS. And it was about, I think it was $70 for the one video. $70 for, I don't even know how long of a movie it was. But I mean, again, if you're watching porn, you're watching it for what, maybe 5 minutes, doing your thing, and then that's that. You're not watching it like, it's not a sit-down movie with, Brad Pitt where you're going with the plot and you're watching the whole story. And it was super expensive. But I had no expenses when I was a kid, right? I mean, I think I didn't even have a cell phone. We didn't have cell phones at that age. So yeah, I really had, I had a job, so I had money. I had money to spend. And I bought 2 videos when I was there. And so we're talking at least $140, $150 with tax and everything. I dropped $150 my first purchase of, porn when I was 18 years old. And now, if I sit there and think about it, I mean, I've got a lot more money now, so don't get me wrong. I could pay that if I wanted to. But now as an adult, I just look at that and go, wow, $150 for like 2 videos that, and again, remember, your hormones are different when you're a teenager. I probably did get great mileage out of them, if that's the right term to use. So they probably did, they got me through some times, all right? So there we go, I can say that much. But anyway, my point is, now fast forwarding, exactly 20, almost 21 years, that I'm fascinated by the people who are going to pay monthly for porn. So obviously significantly less if it's $4 a month as opposed to $150 in one shot. But I don't know, tell me your thoughts and be honest with me. Have you paid for porn recently? Don't lie. I want to know. Be open. That's why we're here, right? We got no secrets. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Let's talk childhood now. We're taking you all over the map on the show this week. Wow. Was there anything that you really, really liked as a kid, but can't stand as an adult? I was having a conversation with my mom. That's not the thing that I appreciated as a kid and hate now as an adult, although sometimes, depending on how a mom lays into you. You kind of maybe feel that way. But we were talking about when my brothers and I were growing up and just the different likes and dislikes that we had. And my mom had said to me that I always loved eggs growing up as a baby. She said, I remember sitting on the living room floor with you. We'd be watching Sesame Street, and I would just be... You would just be like, she was sitting behind me, and then I was, on her lap or whatever. She was sitting on the floor, and just behind me, shoveling spoonfuls of egg into my mouth. I would just be chewing, and then I'd open my mouth, the spoon would go in again, and I was just amazed by Sesame Street. And I said, it's funny now because I actually can't stand eggs. I've never eaten, as far as I can remember. So I don't remember that she had said, okay? So in my living memory, let's call it. I mean, I have a memory from the time I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, to present day. I in a restaurant, I have never ordered a meal, like, breakfast, eggs and whatever. Never. Obviously, there's foods that, there's dishes or meals that you have that have egg in it, right? Whether it's, a dip or whatever it might be. Sure, in the batter of something, okay, I get it. But never actually have I eaten eggs like you'd get on a plate, sunny side up, scrambled. I've never in my life, in my, living memory, have I ever had it. So that's something that I loved as a, I guess, toddler. I don't know how old I was at the time. But from the time I was, an adolescent to the time I was a young adult to now an adult, in my late 30s, I've never had actual eggs. Never had, eggs for breakfast. Never. So was there anything that you loved as a kid, but you just absolutely hate now, or you just don't even take a second look at? And I was actually the same way with carrots. I remember looking through a baby book that she had started for me, or my parents had made for me. His first word, and this, and his first haircut, and whatever, and it was all taped in the book. And I remember seeing that my favorite food also at one time as a baby was carrots. Isn't this funny, though, that all of a sudden I just started not liking carrots as an adult? Couldn't stand it. Same thing with peanut butter. I always had peanut butter and honey sandwiches when I was going through elementary school, junior high, and actually even into high school. That was my lunch every day. I never had lunch meat. I never had any other kind of sandwiches. Never jam, never jelly, never anything. It was always peanut butter and honey. Every day. And now as an adult, absolutely hate peanut butter. And honey, I don't know that I put... No, I don't put honey on anything. I'm just confusing it with syrup. But I don't put honey on anything. I don't even think we have honey in the house, really. So again, prime example of, different things that I had as a kid and really liked, and now just won't go near them as an adult. So send me an email. Tell me if you have anything like that in your life. live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com. I'm just trying to think of some other things, and maybe not even necessarily food, but just, just how your tastes have changed over the years. Have you grown up? Are you now a little bit more distinguished? Again, live@jbonair.com. We're back after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley back here on the Scribble. Let's go into an Ask JB segment here, okay? This is where some of you send in emails with questions or thoughts, right? I'm always asking for your opinion and your thoughts on what we're talking about here, but sometimes you just need help. You want assistance. So the email here says, "Hey JB, you've been a successful entrepreneur for a long time. How did you know that you were successful? Was it when you made a certain income? I'm curious to get into broadcasting, but I worry it'll end up being a hobby because I don't have the business sense. Do you have any advice?" Well, let's talk about this from the very beginning here, okay? I got into broadcasting before social media, before YouTube, before all of these different digital platforms. So the business model is a little bit different in terms of how I got started. When I got started, it was in, traditional radio, internet radio, I guess was a thing at the time. The money you made from advertising, from audio, right? 30-second commercials, selling segment sponsorships. That's how I ended up making money. I mean, it's totally different now because the social media platforms, you're almost generating income because you have a certain amount of followers, right? So if you've got a YouTube channel, you're not the one having to go and sell yourself at that point. You're on the platform, and the platform does the selling for you. So you can focus on the creation, and you don't have to worry about that business side of it, right? You just have to worry about gaining an audience and building that momentum. So it's completely different than when I got into it. Now, in terms of how did you know that you were successful? And I'll be honest with you that I worked with a couple people at a radio station, an internet radio station, who had sort of the same idea. They all loved radio, and it ended up becoming a hobby because they didn't have the business sense. They didn't focus on the marketing and selling. They just wanted to be the on-air personalities, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's natural, right? It's like when I wrote a book, I wanted to be the author. I'm a control freak, so I wanted to do the promotion of it as well. I wanted to do the marketing. But most people who write want to just write. They don't want to have to reach out and arrange book signings or whatever it is. You're going to have people that do that for you because you're going to get a big book deal and blah, 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 blah. It's not always how it plays out for people. So for me, I didn't say when I earn, 6 figures that I'm going to be a successful entrepreneur. It was more so, am I making money, period. It didn't even matter if it was a profit or anything. It's, are people paying me to do it? I mean, I set the bar really low at the beginning because I didn't have anybody who mentored me. I didn't have any guidance. That's not what they were teaching us in school. In school, they were teaching us to get a job with one of the big media outlets. That was, and if you didn't, you weren't legitimate. It almost seemed like it wasn't real. And so it was sort of rare to be a broadcast entrepreneur back in the day. Much more common now. So I can't even really give you advice follow, get in touch with your social media people, interact with them, exchange, engage with their audience, and see what they like and what they respond to. I think a big part of it is having to analyze it. Talking earlier though about, porn pages and things like that. You've got to figure out what kind of your content gets the most likes. We experimented with my radio show on the Instagram account because I had never opened up about my relationship before, but one of my colleagues said, you have a hot Brazilian model husband who, loves taking off his shirt and posing, half naked in the yard or whatever it is. Why aren't you using that? Why aren't you, getting that in front of your audience? And I said, well, because that's not anything that I'm doing. And then they said it's all about the likes and the eyeballs and the number of followers and things like that. But I said it's totally unrelated to the radio show. Like, it's irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with the radio show. And they said, but it's Instagram. It's supposed to be an insight into your personal life. People are wanting to see that glimpse of what it's like in your home, how things play out at the house. And so that was very new to me. And for the longest time when my relationship started, the rule was we don't post pictures from inside the house together. We don't, like, the times that we're together, it's just that. It's us together. It's not there for everybody. And so I had to sort of get comfortable putting it out there in front of the world. And again, we're still very limited. It's all, never is there a picture that's taken and then boom, it's instantly posted. Nothing is done in real time. We might have taken pictures 2 months ago and it'll just be posted today because, I don't know, it's all planned out. And that's how you map out editorial content. That's being smart about it. And so you look at it, you got to map it out. What gets the most interactions? What do people like? What do they respond to? And then you give them more of that. Or you ask them what they want you to do. I'm not talking about porn. I'm saying even just if YouTube videos, what are people commenting? What criticisms are you getting? Because a lot of times people don't want to hear the criticism, but there could be some legitimacy to them. If these are it's your audience telling you this kind of stuff, so you got to listen to that. So I don't know. I mean, that's really my own advice. I mean, I can't tell you how to make a ton of money because I'm not making a ton of money on those social media platforms. I have no interest in doing that. So that's I would just say, not mimic the people who are already doing it, but take a look at what they're doing and what's getting a rise out of their audience. That's It's the best I can tell you. So again, if you've got some advice, if I'm completely wrong, send me an email and I'll forward it along. live@jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter @The Scribble Show and @thescribbleshow.com.
Thanks for listening to The Scribble. Bye-bye for now, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter @The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,